gold was $20 an ounce in 1789. When they created the Federal Reserve, in 1913, right, 120 some odd years later, the dollar, you still was $20 for an ounce of gold. So the dollar's value didn't change during those 120 years. And so you can still buy it, an ounce of gold for $20. That didn't change until the 30s after Roosevelt devalued the dollar. And then you needed $35 to buy an ounce of gold. And that held until 1970, or late 1960s, early 1970s. But when Nixon finally left the gold standard, the official price was about $42 an ounce. But now it's $26.60. Gold hasn't changed. An ounce of gold is still an ounce of gold. It's just that now you need 2,660 Federal Reserve notes to buy one, whereas you used to need 20 because of how much they've created. Well, that's going to keep happening. And, so who's to say that, you may need $20,000 to buy an ounce of gold soon. Right now, it's not that people aren't even noticing the price of gold going up. They don't even understand the significance from an economic perspective, because it's really proof that the Fed's policy is wrong. The Fed says, we were too tight, and now we're just, trying to normalize rates. They were never too tight. They were always too easy. And gold is proving that right now. But the other proof was the level of debt. If the Fed was ever tight, savings would have gone up. They wouldn't be record lows. Households wouldn't have record amounts of debt. The government would have cut back on spending if the Fed actually had tight money. But the Fed never achieved tight money. They backed away before money got tight because banks started to fail. And now they're loosening again with gold at a record high. And this is a huge warning sign. I've been pointing out that when Alan Greenspan was Fed chairman, 20 years ago, and he went before Congress and he was asked about, well, would we be better off on a gold standard? His answer was, well, we're kind of on a gold standard now, because he said, I use the price of gold to tell me if I've got the correct policy. So if gold is up around 400, I know that my policy is too easy and I got to hike rates. And if gold is below 300, then I know that I'm too tight and I got to cut rates. And of course, at the time he said that, gold was around 350. And so he thought, hey, I've got the policy about right because gold is in the middle of my range. Gold is at an all-time record high and goes up every day. So what is that telling you? Well, according to Greenspan, who used to be the Fed chairman, it tells you that interest rates are too low, yet the Fed is lowering them more. We're going to have a hard landing. We're going to have a crash. It's not even going to be a landing, because what the government has done, what the Fed has done, every time we've had an economic downturn, they've basically come to the rescue by creating inflation. They print more money, they lower interest rates, and mortgage rates come down, people refinance, the stock market goes up because people are able to buy more stocks with lower rates, valuations go up. So they reflate a bubble. This time, it's not going to have that effect because we already have a big inflation problem that is going to be exacerbated by the easing of policy, and it's going to backfire. And so even though we're going into recession, long-term rates are going to rise, and that is going to worsen the severity of the recession. And the Fed is really going to be forced to raise interest rates if it wants to do the right thing. And the government is going to have to cut spending and maybe raise taxes during this recession, which they've never done. They always try to stimulate. They increase spending. They cut taxes. So they're going to have to do the opposite of everything they've done before, which in the short run, obviously, is going to make it a whole lot worse. In the long run, that's the right thing to do. When you have a recession is to cut back on government spending, and they have to let rates rise, but they're not going to do that. So that's why we're going to have a massive acceleration of inflation, which is actually going to worsen again the severity of the recession, because inflation acts like a tax increase. It destroys purchasing power. And so I don't think there's going to be any way out of this. I think it's just going to become, again, a dollar crisis and a sovereign debt crisis. And investors need to prepare for this in a way that, they've never probably prepared for anything in the past, because we haven't seen this. In the last few crises, the dollar is the safe haven. Everybody goes into the dollar when there's a problem. This time, the dollar is going to be the problem, and everybody is going to be fleeing it. And when you're fleeing the dollar, you're fleeing U.S. financial assets.
So why is gold soaring in value? It's not that people aren't noticing. It's just that they don't fully understand the significance of it. Right now, the price of gold is sending a clear message that the Federal Reserve's policy is fundamentally flawed. But that message seems to be falling on deaf ears. Many economists and analysts fail to connect the dots. They see gold's rise as just another fluctuation in commodity prices, but in reality, it's proof that the Fed's policies are incorrect. The Fed claims that its previous policies were too tight and that it's simply trying to normalize rates. But let's be honest, the Fed has never actually had tight monetary policy. If they had, we would have seen savings rates rise and debt levels, whether household or government, would have decreased. Instead, household debt is at record levels, savings are at all-time lows, and government spending continues to grow unchecked. This is not a picture of tight monetary policy. It's the result of excessively easy money that never stopped flowing. When the Fed claimed it was tightening, banks started to feel the pressure, and some even began to fail. What did the Fed do? It reversed course and started loosening again, all while gold has been climbing to record highs. This is a major red flag for the health of our financial system. Peter reminds us of what Alan Greenspan, the former Fed chairman, once said when asked about the gold standard. Greenspan explained that he used the price of gold as an indicator to gauge whether monetary policy was on the right track. If gold was above $400, it meant that policy was too loose and rates needed to be increased. If gold was below $300, then rates were too tight. Fast forward to today, and gold is at an all-time high. It's pushing upwards daily, and according to Greenspan's own logic, this indicates that rates are far too low. Yet what is the Fed doing? They're lowering rates even more, completely disregarding the message that gold is sending. We're not heading for a soft landing. Instead, we're barreling toward an outright crash. Historically, whenever the economy experienced a downturn, the Fed would come to the rescue by creating inflation, printing money, lowering interest rates, and making borrowing cheaper. This would lead to a rise in the stock market as investors flocked to assets with better returns. The idea was that lower rates would boost spending and investment, creating a reflationary effect. But this time, things are different. We already have a severe inflation problem, and the Fed's easing policy will only make it worse. Even though the economy is slowing down, long-term rates are likely to rise, making the recession even more severe. To stabilize the economy, the Fed should be doing the opposite, raising interest rates, cutting government spending, and allowing the market to correct. However, political and economic realities make such actions unlikely. The real kicker here is that the policies the Fed and the government have relied on for decades to counter recessions simply won't work anymore. Typically, during a downturn, the government increases spending, and the Fed lowers rates to stimulate the economy. But this time, the cost of these policies will be a massive acceleration of inflation. Inflation acts like a tax. It erodes purchasing power, making everyone poor, especially those on fixed incomes or lower wages. Imagine you've been saving diligently and suddenly your savings buy half of what they could a few years ago. That's inflation at work, and the current policies are feeding the flames rather than putting them out. Peter argues that we're looking at a potential dollar crisis and a sovereign debt crisis. For decades, whenever there was a crisis, the dollar was seen as a safe haven. Investors would move their money into U.S. financial assets, driving the dollar up. But this time, the dollar itself is the problem. As more people recognize this, they'll begin to flee the dollar, seeking alternatives like gold and silver.
If you just look at a nominal price, I mean, it's a massive breakout as far as any chart. We're in uncharted territory. But gold consolidated from 2011 to 2024. It went sideways, consolidating the big move from under 300 when this century began with gold at $270 an ounce. And so it went from 270 in January of 2001. It went to 1900 in 2011. So it had a 10-year move where it went up about sixfold. Then it went sideways for another dozen or so years before finally breaking out of that consolidation this year. And so we now have a base of support above 2000, and money is just flowing in. And I've been telling our customers at Schiff Gold all year, do not wait for a pullback. It's not worth it because the pullbacks are going to be too shallow to even make a difference. And while you're waiting for it, you're going to miss it because you're going to hope for a bigger pullback than the one you get. And then you're going to end up paying more. And we still have people that didn't want to buy at 2100, 2200 because they wanted to dip back down to 2,000, and now it's almost 2,700. And now, well, let me see if I can get a move to 2,500. And while they're waiting for that, it's going to hit 3,000. So I'm just telling people to buy. And of course, an even better buy is silver, which is still below $32 an ounce. You have a chart of silver. Silver doubled topped at 50 in 1980 and in 2011, and just nominally. I mean, silver is dirt cheap on an inflation-adjusted basis. So people should be buying up silver here. Don't wait for a pullback. It's already pulled back. You're getting a bargain at $32 silver. The national debt is growing at $3 to $4 trillion a year. I think the pace is going to increase during the next 4 years. We could easily add 25 trillion to the national debt. I mean, it's already 36 trillion. I mean, it's growing exponentially. Interest on the national debt is larger than defense. It's over $1 trillion a year. In a couple of years, interest on the national debt will be bigger than either Social Security or Medicare, and both of those expenses are growing. But probably by the end of whoever wins this presidential election, I think that interest on the debt will consume 100% of tax revenue. And so that means everything the government spends will have to be borrowed. And so there's no way that we can get there with the cooperation of creditors. I mean, there's a limit to how dumb the world is going to be to keep loaning money to a bankrupt nation that has no ability to pay it back and just think, well, they can print money, so we have nothing to worry about. That's exactly what they need to worry about, printing money into oblivion, where the money they print no longer has any value. That's the direction where we're heading. And so this whole thing is going to accelerate. That's why the price of gold, you talk about where it could go. It could go to 20,000. It could go to 40,000. I mean, gold prices can go up dramatically, but it's not that gold is actually changing.
No,
it's just when the country was formed in 1789, we ratified the Constitution and we passed a Coinage Act. We set the value of the dollar as a quantity of gold, and gold was $20 an ounce in 1789. When they created the Federal Reserve, in 1913, right, 120 some odd years later, the dollar, you still was $20 for an ounce of gold. So the dollar's value didn't change during those 120 years. And so you can still buy an ounce of gold for $20. That didn't change until the 30s, after Roosevelt devalued the dollar, and then you needed $35 to buy an ounce of gold. And that held until 1970, or late 1960s, early 1970s. But when Nixon finally left the gold standard, the official price was about $42 an ounce. But now it's $26.60. Gold hasn't changed. An ounce of gold is still an ounce of gold. It's just that now you need 2,660 Federal Reserve notes to buy one, whereas you used to need 20 because of how much they've created. Well, that's going to keep happening. And, so who's to say that, you may need $20,000 to buy an ounce of gold soon.
We've established that the Federal Reserve's current policies are leading us straight into a dollar crisis. But what does that mean for the average person? Let's dig into the specifics of what's happening now and why Peter Schiff believes that this time is different from past economic downturns. In the past, the US dollar has served as the ultimate safe haven. Whenever global markets got shaky, investors moved their assets into dollars, boosting the currency and stabilizing the US financial system. But now the dollar itself is the weak link. Years of excessive money printing, record budget deficits, and a refusal to raise interest rates in a meaningful way have all contributed to the devaluation of the dollar. Think about the national debt for a second. It's currently over $36 trillion and growing at a pace of $3 to $4 trillion per year. This isn't sustainable. In just a few years, the interest on the national debt could exceed what we spend on Social Security or Medicare. And before the next presidential term is over, it could potentially consume 100% of tax revenue. At that point, everything else the government spends money on will have to be financed through borrowing. Who is going to lend money to a nation that has no plan to pay it back, especially when that nation's solution to its problems is to print more money? It's a scenario that investors are waking up to, and when they do, they'll be looking for an exit strategy, a way to preserve their wealth that doesn't rely on the stability of the US dollar. This is where gold comes in. Unlike fiat currencies, which can be created at will by central banks, gold is a finite resource. It has intrinsic value and is universally recognized as a store of wealth. For thousands of years, gold has been the go-to asset in times of economic instability, and it's no different today. Peter makes an excellent point about the long-term consolidation of gold. From 2011 to 2024, gold consolidated after a massive run-up from under $300 in 2001 to nearly $1,900 in 2024-2011. That was a six-fold increase in just a decade. After spending over a decade in a consolidation phase, gold is now breaking out again, with a solid base of support above $2,000 per ounce. This isn't just a short-term spike, it's a long-term shift in the value of gold relative to fiat currencies. Investors need to understand that the pullbacks in gold are likely to be shallow. Peter warns against waiting for a big pullback that may never come. Some people didn't buy at 2,100 or 2,200 because they were hoping it would dip back to 2,000. Now it's almost 2,700, and they're waiting for it to fall to 2,500. By the time they're ready to buy, gold might be at $3,000. This is a lesson in not trying to time the market, especially in a time of crisis. If gold's current price makes you hesitant, let's talk about silver. Peter describes silver as an even better buy, still trading below $32 per ounce. To put this in perspective, silver has double-topped at $50 twice, once in 1980 and again in 2011. Adjusted for inflation, silver is incredibly cheap right now, and it has massive upside potential. Silver isn't just a precious metal, it's also an industrial metal. It's used in everything from electronics to solar panels, and as the push for renewable energy grows, so too does the demand for silver. This gives silver a unique position. It benefits from both economic growth and monetary instability. Just as with gold, waiting for a pullback in silver might cause you to miss out on the opportunity. The fundamentals are too strong, and the upside potential is enormous, especially considering the pressures on fiat currencies globally. If gold moves, silver tends to follow, often with even greater momentum. This makes silver a perfect asset for those looking to leverage the coming rise in precious metals. One of the most alarming aspects of the current situation is the role of debt. The national debt is already at astronomical levels, and it's only going to get worse. As Peter mentioned, interest on the debt is larger than defense spending and is set to surpass spending on major entitlement programs like Social Security and Medicare. The government's strategy of borrowing and spending is unsustainable, but it's the only playbook they have. Instead of tightening their belts, they're borrowing more, spending more, and relying on the Fed to keep interest rates low to make the debt manageable. But as inflation rises, the Fed's ability to keep rates low will be limited. At some point, creditors will demand higher returns to compensate for the risk of lending to a government that is printing money to pay its bills. This is the ultimate debt trap. The more the government borrows, the higher the interest costs become. The higher the interest costs, the more they need to borrow. It's a vicious cycle that can only end in one way: inflation and the destruction of the currency's value. So, what can you do as an investor? The answer is simple: diversify. Gold and silver should be key components of your investment portfolio, but you should also consider other assets that protect against inflation and currency devaluation. This could include real estate, foreign equities, or even cryptocurrencies for those who are more adventurous. However, physical gold and silver provide something that no other asset can: stability and a hedge against systemic risk. Unlike stocks, bonds, or even real estate, gold and silver are not dependent on the performance of the economy, the actions of a central bank, or the solvency of a government. They are finite, tangible assets that have intrinsic value regardless of what happens in the financial markets. Mining stocks are another excellent way to gain exposure to rising gold and silver prices, with the added benefit of leverage. When the price of gold goes up, the profits of mining companies can increase even more, offering significant upside potential for investors. However, it's important to note that mining stocks come with additional risks, such as operational challenges and political risks in the countries where they operate. We are at a turning point in the global financial system. The policies that have worked in the past, printing money, lowering rates, and increasing government spending, are no longer effective. Inflation is here to stay, and the dollar's value is eroding faster than ever. In this environment, waiting for a pullback in gold or silver could mean missing the opportunity to protect your wealth. Peter Schiff has laid out a compelling case for why gold and silver are essential in today's economic climate. The dollar crisis is coming, and when it hits, those who are prepared will be the ones who preserve their wealth. Whether you choose to invest in physical metals, mining stocks, or a combination of both, the time to act is now. So as we move forward in these uncertain times, remember, gold and silver are not just investments. They are insurance policies against the collapse of the financial system. Make sure you're ready because the days of easy money are over and the era of sound money is on the horizon. Whether it's $2,700, $3,000, or $20,000 per ounce, gold will continue to do what it has always done: preserve value in a world where fiat currencies fail.